Hey guys, welcome to the eighth podcast of YTCA. And I definitely did not have an attempt recording before this, where I said this is in the ninth podcast. Anyways,
Definitely.
my name is Nick,
My name is Theo.
My name's Ezra.
and yeah, welcome back. It seems like a lot of you guys liked last week's podcast, which we had a special speaker, Mrs. Pan. She's very nice. We again appreciate her for coming. And yeah, um, of course, if you guys are new here, welcome. And please check out our website, our Instagram. And we do all sorts of things on our website. We usually update it weekly with the newest information and all the podcasts, as well as our Instagram, where we'll be updating you on when we upload or anything exciting happening with the YTCA. And yeah, so I guess without further ado, let's get into today's topic, shall we? All right, so today we'll be talking about the topic known as inferiority complex. Now, that might be very puzzling. That word is like, oh, big words, right? Inferiority complex. But whenever you think about the word complex, it's like, oh yeah, it's complex. I'm sorry, yeah. But I mean, what is it? What the heck is this inferiority complex, right?
I think inferiority complex, it's a little self-explanatory, but it has a lot of depth to it. I think inferiority complex on the surface is kind of like just feeling like you don't measure up to kind of certain standards, whether they're social standards, academic standards, whatever, economic standards, whatever, usually social or cultural, because I feel like a lot of the time inferiority complex comes from comparing yourself with other people and feeling like, oh, like they're so much better than me. I could never be like them. I'm so inferior. I'm so much lower than them, right? And so it doesn't I think there are multiple levels to inferiority complex. I don't think it's like a black or white kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I think it is just the general feeling that you don't measure up to people or don't measure up to a certain standard.
Right. And according to the web, an inferiority complex is a feeling of not matching up to standards, lack of self esteem, and a constant doubt about yourself. I think that pretty much sums it up. But if I were to give like my own definition, it's like you feel that someone or a lot of people are always better than you, and that no matter how hard you try, like you can't, catch up to them. You can't like get out of the pit like you're in, because usually if you have an inferiority complex, you feel like you're in a pit and like you can't get out
Or
because
you,
you're like that bad.
yeah,
Or
you feel naturally
right.
inferior. It's not like, oh, I just need to
Right.
work harder. It's like, oh, I'll never catch up to them. They're just better than me.
Right.
And this is why we kind of we some this is a really like a big cause that contributes to kind of the lack of motivation, right? So this is why we're kind of putting it in this mini series. Right? We think it's better to analyze each individual detail. And speaking of inferiority complex, I think that yes, it is very true that some people might feel that they're inferior no matter how hard they try, right? It's like the tortoise and the hare, right? They think, oh, look at the slow tortoise. It's never gonna like outrun the hare, right? Of course, everyone knows what happens in the end. The tortoise was hardworking, the hare was lazy. But it's the idea that that you think lowly of yourself, right, and you think highly of others, or you belittle yourself, and you elevate other position, right? Sometimes augmenting what their ability is in your mind. And that really brings us into this idea, right, of what we call the imposter syndrome. And it's not an Among Us imposter. It's it's some kind of experience that everyone goes through. So do you guys want to talk about imposter syndrome?
Theo, we're voting Nick out, right? I'm voting
Ah,
for that.
yes.
All right. No, but I think imposter syndrome, yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand with inferiority complex. Because imposter syndrome, I guess, to give it a definition, or like my personal definition, it's when you feel like the things that you've done or the achievements or the work that you're putting in, yeah, the achievements that you have or the achievements that you're getting aren't of your own worth or aren't reflective of your real ability, and but instead kind of like a almost like you were lucky that you got this far in life, or that you got that achievement. Like sometimes people will feel like, oh, I got good grades, but like I was just lucky. Like I got a good teacher, or like I had a really easy class. And it feels like you aren't deserving of the things that you earn, and you aren't deserving of, yeah, you feel like you don't deserve anything.
Right. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I really don't have anything to add. Like, you feel like you don't deserve anything. That's like the best way you can put it. And that can be contributed by several factors, maybe bullying, maybe like, I don't know, of course, lack of self-esteem, but lack of self-esteem could be caused by like a variety of things. Maybe like people around you say that, you're always bad, you're always stupid, or like, and school kind of contributes to that. Like if you get bad grades all the time, sometimes you think like, oh, I'm not going to be successful in life. I'm going to be just, at the bottom of the social pyramid and like you can't do anything worthwhile.
Yeah, I think
Well, just a thing, Albert Einstein, was it Einstein? I'm not exactly sure, but it was this smart genius who
Some
like dropped
smart
out of
dude.
school
some
and
smart
like
people.
he somehow did well. Like, I mean, he was like the rare exception, but I'm just saying, like, the grades you get in school, I know this sounds cliche, is like, not really determinant of your success. Although it kind of does, it kind of doesn't at the same time, if you get what I mean.
I think I agree with I agree with you, Theo. I think um imposter syndrome, like inferiority complex, comes from comparison, because you could actually be doing really good. You could be, if we take the example of school again, of course it doesn't have to apply to school, it can apply to a lot of different things, but you could be like having all A's, or you could be doing really well in school, but if you feel um like if you feel like you don't deserve it, if you feel like, oh man, like I just, I don't deserve this. There are people who are way better than me out there. Like, how could a nobody like me like really get this achievement? It's all relative. It's how you compare yourself to others and how you feel about yourself. Self-confidence is most definitely a large factor, because if you have no self-confidence in yourself, then you're going to feel inferior. You're going, especially if you hold other people in high regard. I know I sometimes do that, where I have low self-confidence, and I will belittle my own achievements and my academic or social success, based on like luck, and like also comparing myself, like, look at those people, they deserve it way more than me, like they tried so much harder, they put in so much effort, and it's yeah, that's, I guess, how relative view on where you stand in social or academic or economic whatever standings can bring about imposter syndrome and inferiority complex.
Yeah, I think a big part of it, right, is you know, I think a big part of it is kind of the way society is structured, right? They really want to see progress. They want to see things done, right? For example, grades, right? Because they want to, see progressiveness, right, in society. So that's kind of the reason why a lot of people kind of get pushed a little, right, to kind of go and achieve those things. But I don't think, in my opinion, your worth and your success isn't measured by your grades. Isn't measured by your academic. You're basically as academically. People succeed in all different kinds of regions, right? Because, well, let's just put it frankly. I know this is very cliche, but everyone is good at something else. Everyone's good at something. Right? I don't believe that when someone tells me they're not good at anything, I will tell them you're not look closely enough. You're not looking closer within yourself, right? You're not trusting yourself. You're not paying more attention enough to see what you're good at. And I think a big part of it, right, is society wants to see those kind of results, and as a result, a lot of people get pushed this way. Well, we shouldn't compare ourselves to others. because, well, as you know, as the Bible says, everyone is built differently. God created everyone differently. Not a single person on this earth is the same. Not even if you have twins or brothers and sisters, right? Everyone is different, and that is what we have to recognize here, right? Because of your difference, we have to use that, and because of that difference, people are good at different things, and that's what makes this world so diverse, right? If everyone is just good at the same thing, wouldn't the world be really boring? Just if everyone is, I don't know, good at math, right? Then wouldn't the world not be progressing at this rate? Because, well, we can't have just a person everyone being good at math, right? There has to be other people who takes up other shares and other roles in this world. So I think inferiority complex is something that you know a lot of people get sucked into, right? When surrounded by people like that around them, but they have to realize that the only one they can compare themselves to is themselves. The themselves, even in the last minute. Like if I'm a better person than me, last time we spoke, I have achieved. I have becoming better. I'm becoming better, right? So that's what I think. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I was a little bit confused when you're like, I compare myself to myself. And then you finally cleared it up by saying what you were in the past. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I really don't have much to add. I think we should get on to the next
Or
point.
I'd like to say one more thing actually. Um I think what Nick says is very true. I think um a lot of the times people can get sucked into the idea of inferiority complex and imposter syndrome. Because honestly they're not looking at the right things. I think perspective is a um big thing that people tend to not talk about, their perspective and outlook on the world, because in today's society, right, um, certain social standards, like being economically successful, having good grades, having a lot of friends, or being, I don't know, in the high school setting, especially being accepted. Those are all. That's kind of the mindset that you look at things from, and when you do it like that, then if you're only viewing the world through this one lens, if everyone is only viewing it through the one lens, then yeah, of course people are going to not measure up to certain standards as well as other people. But the problem with that is that, you're only looking at it through one lens. If you look at it in a different perspective, things change, right? People have a lot of different qualities that go outside of simply academic, social, economic ideas, right? People are complex. People aren't machines or simple simple things that can be measured, right? And so shifting your perspective from measuring yourself by those standards, and yeah, talking about what Nick said, where shifting your perspective to focus more on yourself and focus on improving and coming to accept who you are instead of trying to make yourself conform to a certain lens that society makes you.
I think this like transitions to our next point, which is like, have you ever experienced inferiority complex or imposter syndrome before? Does any one of you want to share something? Or
I mean, I think I think I sometimes a lot of times I feel inferior. I kind of experience this, inferiority complex because you know I just I'm just gonna give a quick example about my life. As some of you guys know, our school has a student council that we call ASB. In ninth grade, actually, in the summer of ninth. Oh, yeah, when I was going into ninth grade, right, I wanted to be a part of the student council. I wanted to run for president, and for ninth grade president. And I was really confident that I put effort into my posters. I made sure other people know who I am and what I will do. And you know what? I made it through the runoffs. I was like, hey, I think I might get a shot at this. Until they told me, you know what, someone else won by a landslide, and I was just like, man, feels bad. And I honestly was thinking like, hey, what's wrong with me? It's like, what's wrong with me? Is there something? Why don't people like me? Is there something that I like inherently wrong? Like, what is there something wrong with my skills? So I started doubting myself and just kind of questioning who I am. That really made me really sad and depressed on the inside. But after a while, I realized, you know, first of all, student council elections they're not they're not a contest to kind of contest your ability to be able to become a good person. It's a popularity contest. It's whoever's popular in the school. I'm sorry to say that. But that's the truth. It is just a popularity contest, right? It doesn't matter if I know this or know that. If the other person is more popular with the students, of course the students are going to vote for them. Another thing is I'm comparing myself, right? I'm comparing myself, right? I am setting the bar for myself to them, right? Which is unrealistic because they're different. They have a different path they might follow in life. I'm not going to follow the exact same path. Why would I? Right? But I really think, because of this, right? Because of this kind of mishap, as I would like to call it, I got into the robotics team. And, I loved it ever since. It's been my third year on the team now. So I think, I think this is really important, right? If I really let this inferiority complex weigh me down, right? I can't move on with life. If I compared myself constantly to the other person that won against me, that's not going to help me grow. That doesn't help the matter at all. So I think it's important here to recognize the fact that, you have to, you have to kind of snap out of it and stop comparing yourself, and that because it's not healthy. But yeah, that's just kind of one example in my life. I think that inferiority complex took over.
I guess I'll share just a personal story. Like when I was really young, I was like really bad at writing. Like I needed my parents to like write my essays in like first grade. Like it was an essay, like not an essay, it was like a, what do you call it? Like a summary of a story, right? And I couldn't even write that. Okay. I was like, I wrote my essay, I showed it to them. They're like, it's really bad. I'm like, uh so yeah, that's my writing experience. And I developed this kind of inferiority complex with writing. I was like, there's like no way I'm going to get better at writing. My parents are always going to think my essays are like horrible. And like that's what I thought, like even until middle school. And it actually kind of got worse because I actually kind of got bad grades on my essays, like C's, D's, well, mostly B's, but I'm kind of like, I like getting the A's, unfortunately, so a B looks bad to me. But like, you get my point. Like, I thought I wasn't going to get better at writing. There was this one moment when I remember crying and like telling my parents, I'm not going to get better at writing. and then like, and then they told me, you can't think like that. You just have to keep trying. And now after practicing writing so much, I think, I've gotten a little bit better at writing at least. So I think I kind of grew out of it. I still kind of feel it because I still don't really like English, but like I kind of grew out of it out of persistent effort to like improve myself.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, that's good. I think, yeah, Theo's story says a lot about improving and it says a lot about not giving up. Um, and like how yeah, you did get out of, or at least to an extent get out of your inferiority complex because you did improve and you yeah, you made an effort to improve. I think I think I guess my story with inferiority complex is that I used to play violin. I only stopped recently, about at the beginning of quarantine, actually, around, so about a year ago. A year. But I remember when I played violin, um, like when I look back on it, it's very evident of like, oh wow, like I was improving and whatnot because I was practicing a lot and like I was putting in a lot of effort. But at the time, I felt like I was just not improving. I felt like I was getting worse every day. I felt like nothing was going right. And it was really frustrating to the point where, like, yeah, sometimes I would cry. And so looking back on it, like, it it's so crazy to think like that kind of mindset, especially with there's so much evidence saying like, oh, you are improving, you're getting better. But because like I didn't think of that to myself, because I didn't take the time to look back and to think about, oh, I have improved and I am getting better. I think that was really like if like I didn't look back, and because of that I thought so lowly of myself, and I thought like I was I was not getting any better, and it took an emotional toll on me. Um, yeah, so looking back on it, now that I don't play violin and it's been a while and reflecting on it, I realized that um I realized that when you don't take into consideration how far you've come, and also take into consideration like why you're doing something, especially because if you're doing it just to look good, that also can be a source of like why you feel like you're inferior. That can be a really big detriment onto somebody because ultimately we are called, as Christians to do everything for God, right? And it's not by work we're saved, it's by grace we're saved, right? So it's kind of like that relationship where like yes, we're not saved by our works, but we still go out and do everything in our power to be servants of Christ. It's kind of like that.
I guess. I'm glad, Ezra, that you kind of realize that. Really glad that you feel mentally better, right? After kind of coming to realization, and I'm glad, Theo, that you can write good, yeah,
I
good
mean,
grammar.
it's okay.
Probably better than me.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think it's important to kind of acknowledge those things, right? Some people, I think, some of my friends, I think a lot of people like to hide these things, right? That they don't want to acknowledge that they're inferior, right? Some people, but some people they feel kind of like constantly compare themselves to other people on the inside. But of course, you're not gonna tell people, right? Like, hey, I'm comparing myself to you. That's just kind of weird, right? So I think um, when this happens, right, we have to have ways to cope with it. We can't just like let it bottle up inside, which is unhealthy, very unhealthy to just have it and just keep comparing yourself. Because if you keep doing it, right, in the beginning you might just think, in the beginning you don't realize, and then it affects you significantly, and sometimes it can affect the people around you too, right? Right. People, because people can really notice, like, hey, what's wrong, right? They feel like you're becoming. Some people, they their solution, right? It's like, hey, I'm less talented in this, so I'm just going to work harder. In some cases, I would say yes. If it's your own problem, like if you're not working hard enough, if you're not studying hard enough, sometimes maybe you should. But if you're doing all you can and you're just pushing yourself to kind of like the 110%, then it's not healthy for you, right? It really is going to take a toll on your body and your mental, right? And that's something that you can't really recover from. Unlike just if you get tired after a workout, you can just you get a good night of rest, and tomorrow should be fine. But this is not something you can recover from, right? Kind of the burnout, right? As we said last time, this is one of the
Right.
reasons, that kind of connected to burnout. Yeah, what do you guys think? What are some of the ways you guys cope with it?
I think one good way, I think it's okay to compare yourself a little bit as long as you're not comparing yourself like constantly. Like if you think about it, sometimes having a rival or like someone you look up to is like a really good thing because like it pushes you like in a good way to do, get better at the things you do. Like when I met like a really smart person in like middle school and like he was like a lot better than me in terms of like almost everything, but I saw him as a goal. I'm like I want to be like this person. So, I kind of like tried my best to like, be as good as him. I don't think it's bad in that way to compare yourself. If you compare yourself in that way, like there's a person I need to aspire to. Like my parents are obviously better at me at their job. But I kind of want to do their job and I aspire to be like them. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you start saying, "Oh, there's no way I can get up to them," like I'm always inferior, like that's not a good comparison. And another thing is that I think another big role is the friends you have around you. Like if you have friends that tell you, that compliment you, that say that, maybe like tell you you can do this. They encourage you and they don't like put you down like you're stupid, get away from me. Or I mean, maybe not as intense like that, but something like that. I think the environment around you really has a thing or like a factor. And this is kind of ties to the Christian perspective because I feel like being part of the church, I'm in like a really good community. They always compliment me and they love me with God's love. And I just really feel comfortable being in there. And I feel like, this is like a community I can turn to for anything I go through. They won't criticize me. They won't say you're stupid or like, I don't know, anything else that's bad about me. They're just here to help me. So that's what I really like with being a Christian. And one more thing is that I've always known, or my mom has always told me that, God loves me. And, that really helps because sometimes like we think we're unlovable or like we don't deserve anything. But, I'm really glad that I believe that God loves me and that I'm a child of God. So yeah, go ahead, Ezra. I kind of spoke too much.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I agree with I agree with your point on like yeah, like what like when you think about it and like taking one of the ways that I like to cope, kind of what Theo talked about is taking time to remember, yeah, I'm loved by God, you know? And it doesn't yes, there are things that I can improve on, but God's love is unconditional for those who accept it, right? It's not oh, I need to do and this in order to earn God's love. You can't earn God's love. That's the whole idea of Christianity. You don't earn it. You're saved by grace, saved by the death of Jesus Christ. And so I think coming to the understanding that I'm loved by God and I am loved no matter what is a really honestly like mind-boggling thing that snaps you back or snaps me back into feeling better about myself, feeling better about where I am. Um, and yeah, once again, bringing up what Theo talked about surrounding yourself with a good community. And if you don't deal with inferiority complex, but have people around you who do, then compliment them. Be a good environment to them so that they can hopefully get out of that mood, get out of that inferiority complex because, you know, they're your friend. Or even if they aren't your friend, like be encouraging because people are complex and it's not often that we completely understand the person. We barely understand ourselves. So encouraging one another and at least in healthy encouragement is always good to implement because, you can help other people and have them, find self-worth, I guess. Not in you, but in God.
Right. Remember. So yeah, for any of you guys who are listening, just remember, I don't. For those of Christians especially listening, God has seen value in you. Don't let that go away. Don't compare yourself to others, right? Because God didn't create you that way. And yeah, if you guys need any extra help, we're here for you. Especially because we have a support group every week. Izzo, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, our support group, we meet every Sunday at 4 p.m. to just talk about how we're doing to grow a community of intimate people who you can be open with, who you can share your feelings, share your thoughts with, and hopefully grow close to people, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic where, talking to people, interacting is more of a chore than an actual like thing you enjoy. So we want to, yeah, kind of bring back that sort of intimate community where you can be open and enjoy yourself and also um, grow together. It is for the Christian community, but if you're not Christian, you can totally join.
Yeah.
We're open and we'd love to have you.
We fun. We talk with each other. It's a chill time. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that kind of wraps it up for today. Well, this week's podcast. Thank you guys for coming today. and for taking your time. And yeah, I hope that you guys learned something. And remember, no matter who you are, God loves you, and so do I. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week. And remember, check out our Instagram, our websites, and of course our support group. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.